So I had done a video last week showing some of the stuff that's in my garage now because my barn is pretty packed. I've got I think it's 24 by 36 barn on my property. It's one of those steel space saver, whatever you want to call it. And it is chock full of Christmas and Halloween decorations. So this is what my barn looks like. Now, mind you, I had 100,000 lights out at Christmas. I had about 60 blow molds. I had about 30 different homemade props, including some buildings and everything out at Christmas. Halloween, we do a lot less lights, obviously, only because you want more atmosphere. So I think I had about 20,000 lights out, not including my X lights. I have 10,000 X lights that I put out as well. I have a matrix, I have a pumpkin, I have 2 cobwebs that are 4 feet by 4 feet. And I've got some poles with some stars on it and a couple of discs. And there's probably in the matrix. So between all that, there's close to 10,000 X lights. So we're talking like 30,000 lights out at Halloween, maybe 40,000 total, and 120,000 at Christmas. But this is what my barn looks like, which is where I store all of my stuff. Well, not all of it anymore, as my wife keeps complaining, why is your stuff in my garage? So this is the barn. All these bins here are filled with various lights, pieces of props. There's some of my X-Light stuff. I've got snowflakes for Christmas. Obviously, I got a little bit of Easter. And that's what my barn looks like. I've got, I think at last count, I have 100 blow molds for Christmas. And I've got about 50 for Halloween. Halloween's a lot harder to find, obviously, because it's not quite as popular as Christmas. But I'm able to pick them up, obviously, through him at the yard sales. And then I will also go around and pick them up after Christmas and after Halloween at half price. Being from Massachusetts, I am definitely an old cheap Yankee. I'm not going to pay full price for anything. This carriage here, excuse me, gets decorated for Halloween and for Christmas. I've got a frozen sled. I think between the two of these, I paid 80 bucks. One lady was getting rid of this for like 60. She took 40, and I think they wanted 50 for the sled, and I ended up getting that for 30. So there's more Christmas. Obviously, I have significantly more Christmas stuff that is store-bought than I do Halloween. The gargoyle you see there, that was one of last year's big purchases. It's one of the very few things that I paid full price for because I knew I wouldn't be able to get it after Halloween at half price because it was a hot item. But some of this stuff that I've got in here is 25 or 30 years old. Certainly some of the Christmas ones I have are 25 or 30 years old anyways. I've got one Santa that I've kind of done some research on. I think he's close to 50 years old, believe it or not. We got this big train last year for Nightmare Before Christmas. That was also a donation. They were selling it, and I ended up talking with the gentleman's wife, and their dog came from the animal rescue that we do our charity drive for. So she was very happy. Sophie's Circle in New Smyrna Beach, very, very highly recommended. They do really good things with the animals, and she was more than happy to donate that. I've got a fireplace here That was also another marketplace find that I got for free because they were just looking to get rid of it. Doesn't work, but what do I care? I'm going to hack it anyways, which is what I did. For Halloween, we had a cooking head on a spit. And then for Christmas, we had it set up where it was set up for Santa Claus to come down. It had stockings and that type of stuff on it. So like I said, this is 24, I think, by 36 is the size of my barn. Over here, I've got my PA system that I use. This tabletop here, I use as my command center, so to speak. This year, I had my 2 computers. I have one that runs Lightorama, which is what runs 90% of my show, including my music, and it's synchronized to video. And then I have a second computer that I run X-Lights on. You can run both through one computer, but it's just as easy for me to do it through 2 computers. My wife is an engineer for Dell, or she was. She's now working on a different contract. So I'm able to get computers really, really cheap. So I'm able to have multiple computers. If you're up in my office upstairs, I run 3 computers all the time. My main computer, then I have one that I do a lot of downloading on, and then I have a third one that I run Unix on and do different things with Unix. I'm also a computer guy. I do IT support and I build websites and stuff. But this is what the madness is really like off season. I had posted a video real quick about the close to a mile, literally. That's 5,280 feet of extension cords that I have to use to power everything for my displays. So this here is what we use for our display is the side yard at my house. I still have the tunnel that I was using for like a vortex, and then I had a walk through with lights that people would come through for Christmas. There's my John Deere. Everybody from New England, I think, has a John Deere. So I'm fortunate enough where I have a piece of property that works well for my walkthrough that I do every year. So just a little bit of insight into what the madness is really like for extreme decorating. I live in Central Florida, so I'm able to work on this stuff pretty much all year because I'm not up there freezing my onions off like some people are up in New England, which is where I'm from originally. So this is Fred. Fred's got some issues with his feet. We're going to have to perform an operation. I think we're going to have to amputate. But Fred is 6 feet tall, and he's made out of one giant piece of pine. The gentleman who did it with a chainsaw. It was up in Massachusetts. We were at a local breakfast place, and my wife overheard him talking to somebody how he had just bought it at a flea market for $30. And when he got it home, his wife was going to kill him. So my wife nudged me a couple of times, said, go talk to him. Maybe you can pick it up from him and take it off his hands. So I went over and talked to him. I offered him $40, and he was more than happy. He made $10. I paid for his breakfast, basically. And now we have him. So he's made the trek from Massachusetts. But as you can see, the Florida weather is kind of wreaking havoc with him, so I'm going to have to do some work on that. But all right, Brian here from the Wilson Family Lights. Is a little bit of insight, like I said, into what goes on off-season for extreme decorating. Take care.